welcome back. It is episode, I don't even know what episode we're on now. We've luckily been doing this for a decent while. 11? Oh, that's my favorite number. 11. And we are on the eve of the Bassmaster Elite Series starting. So at the end, we're going to have our fantasy fishing preview hosted by one Jason Zubris. But before we get into that, I just wanted to shout it out on the top of the show so that if anybody doesn't make it to the end, join our fantasy fishing group. You can go to bassmasterfantasy.com and join our group. Our group is called Bums Talk Bass. It's a public group. You can just join it. The group creator is MILF Oil Lover, so you can confirm that it's us. I don't know whose username that is. That's a strange username. Who would do that?
Very strange name.
But yeah, I'll leave a link down in the description that you can copy and paste. You can't click on it because I tried to put the link a link in on last YouTube video, and it says our account hasn't been active long enough for us to be verified, so they won't let you do a click-through link, but the link will be there. All you got to do is copy and paste it, or you can just, on Bassmaster Fantasy, just search Bums Talk Bass. It'll come right up. Like we said, we're going to be putting together a prize pack. Zub's going to put in a really cool top secret glide bait. That's not it. And we're going to have other baits and such in there. So you can check that out at bassmasterfantasy.com. So I wanted to get that out of the way just in case anybody doesn't make it to the end of the episode. But we're not going to talk about Bassmaster yet. First, at least I want to talk about this MLF tournament because I actually tuned into this one. So I would be prepared for our podcast. And I don't know what you boys thought, but it was quite a watch. And like usual in MLF, we got quite a bit of drama as well.
Yeah, I didn't watch enough of it, but I've been paying attention. I've been watching the highlights. And, it just looked like a good old-fashioned hog fest. Congrats, Mr. Bobby Lane. Finally, the old Florida boy got her done. But it just looked like fun fishing. It looked good for the sport. I'll leave it at that.
So,
how about you, Brent?
I saw a little bit. It was a little chaotic this week moving out of the apartment. So we were trying to find some clip-its. I watched live, I think Thursday. I think it was Thursday. I watched some of it with Jacob.
Yeah, we were all watching on Thursday. I remember we were texting.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I saw Jacob Wheeler just throwing a nice little Texas rig, flipping it, catching 6-pounders. And I got the juices flowing, though.
So I watched a lot on day one because I was homesick. I watched pretty much nothing on day two because I was working. I watched a little bit on day three because I was ice fishing, but I popped it on in the hut here and there. And then I watched a decent amount on the final day. There's a lot of storylines of this tournament. The first one I want to start with, and I mean, it is Florida, but it's not like, the Harris Chain has deep water and different stuff. With this whole one period of live scope thing, this is the first tournament that I've viewed in a long time where, I mean, I might have missed it, little bits and pieces here and there, but for the most part, it seemed like for 4 days straight, live scope was pretty much a non-factor.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I saw one guy, I think, using it for like one of the periods on Thursday, but
there are some guys. I mean, there's a clip going around of Becker using it. Some guys play the shell game because Harris is like, if you're gonna play the shell game anywhere in Florida, that's the Harris Chain for you because you have that depth, you have that ability. I mean, was that last year John Garrett put the works on him with the 360?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, as far as like Florida lakes go, you definitely can live scope on the Harris Chain. Might not be the best time of year for it right now, but it's definitely a game you can play, and it's a game that certain guys did play, but it didn't seem like it was a game that any of the guys who wound up making it all the way to the end played.
Absolutely not.
There was one guy on the first day, or maybe it was the second day I tuned in for like a minute where I forget, one of the younger guys like had the live scope game going on. I don't know. He like jumped up. I think he was like when he
Drew
wasn't
Gill.
using anyone. Yeah, Gil. There he was.
Yeah, he had
That's
like
something
I don't know about on Friday, but I know on Thursday he had like a massive second period using live scope and didn't really do much in the first or the last.
Yeah.
But I
That's
mean,
the only
that's
one I saw that was actually kind of doing something with it.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, it kind of seems like a stupid and weird formatted rule having you do it one period, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes for the whole season, but at least in this tournament, it seemed to play out in a pretty interesting way because it's like, listen, buddy, you got to know how to just catch them too.
Yeah.
Like, you
rely
can't
on one period out of 3 periods in a day to try to catch them all.
Yeah. You can't win this tournament with one period.
Yeah.
So you got to be doing
I love it.
something.
I love what's going on there. It's really forcing, it's good for the viewership. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It builds that demographic. It adds some competition with the NPFL for how they're doing things. I'm very, very excited to see how that league performs.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other ballgame. There's a lot of fishing going on. But it's just, dude, it was good to see just everybody you looked was just flipping into what were they flipping in? There was a Kissimmee grass, a lot of stuff they're going into.
Yeah, a lot of it. Those
a lot of Kissimmee grass flipping, pencil reeds.
Yeah.
And just hit them.
I mean, if you looked at like Wheeler, right? Which I want to talk about this a little bit. We'll get into Jacob Wheeler in a second, but Wheeler, like one of the best in the world at live scope, was blowing out the beginning of this tournament, electing to not use live scope at all any of his 3 periods. I mean, just straight up flipping.
Yeah.
Like, guy was just flipping around like he was Denny Brower and beating their brakes off, which brings me into what I wanted to talk about with Jacob Wheeler. I'm so confused about how Jacob Wheeler is as good as he is. But I'm serious. I'm serious here. It doesn't make sense in my head. Like, he's there's no live scope, none of this. He's dominant on all that stuff. He's a big offshore fisherman. He uses his electronics. He's good with all that stuff. But like, why? When everybody's just flipping pencil, I mean, everybody was doing it. The whole field.
Yeah, why was he catching them?
Why is Jacob Wheeler on the best spot?
You don't want me to open up my mouth. You don't want me to open up my mouth.
Can of worms.
Listen, I know what Zub's about to say. I was actually not trying to imply that, but like, he's flipping a bug, dude. That's what everybody's doing. It doesn't make any sense.
Was he just?
I don't get it.
I'll say in a legal sense of things, Wheeler travels with a good group.
Yeah, but they didn't catch him.
Yeah.
Well, he knew where not to go then.
They didn't catch him. And this is interesting.
Gosh, that's a fishing that's traveling with a group. But the other fact of that is Wheeler was still cracking him before he ever got to MLF. Wheeler just always had that little dog in him.
He just has like some sixth sense in him.
Sometimes you just got it. Like, sometimes you just got it.
I get that, but dude, the flipping pencil reads things is the one thing that like specifically gets me. Like, if you look at his old like pre-live scope tournaments, like where he was really good, like Tennessee River, TVA ledge fishing, that Cherokee Lake tournament where he was 2D in them, like smallmouth and stuff. Like, I get how you can be better than everybody at that.
Mm-hmm. But just flipping a bug around.
But if we're all flipping pencil reads, like, what are the odds that you're also the best at that?
I felt like he was fishing an area compared to a lot of the guys who were around like more like docks with pencil reeds and stuff. I don't know. I felt like he was just like away from everybody where he was at.
Well, here's something I did want to point out, and I haven't seen anybody talking about this. I'd assume if there was any drama related to this, that it would be all over social media. And I haven't seen anything, but I noticed something watching that. So Bobby Lane won this tournament, right?
Yeah.
I like I said, I didn't watch a ton on day 2. I didn't watch a ton on day 3. I didn't see a ton of Bobby Lane on day 2 or 3. I saw Bobby Lane had a camera on day 1, and Bobby Lane was on camera all day on day 4. Where Bobby Lane was fishing on day 1 is not where Bobby Lane was fishing on day 4. And where Bobby Lane was fishing on day 4 was right next to Jacob Wheeler.
Well,
I mean,
Bobby
you know
Lane was talking
he's-
about a wind shift a lot too, you know.
Yeah.
For that last day, he was talking about weather, and you have to give him credit on this at least. I feel like a guy like Bobby Lane has more experience on the Harris chain,
Absolutely.
you know, than that entire field combined in some senses. You know, he knows every little thing there, and he knows if something's going down where it could, you know, go down. But I know guys talking about how there's some unwritten rules. I wouldn't expect someone like Bobby Lane, you know,
No, I don't think
to
so.
be
Bobby
going
seems
over
like a
those
good guy,
unwritten
but
rules.
and that was the thing I did want to bring up. Wheeler did mention on live on Thursday that there were guys around him, like he saw other guys, but they weren't exactly on like the same stretch or the same thing that he was on. I don't know if maybe Bobby was one of those guys he saw, like who was still fishing in that area, but wasn't necessarily. I don't know. I know at one point on day 4, you could see Wheeler right over Bobby's shoulder. Like they were right next to each other. And I don't know if you guys ever figured out. I never figured out watching. I'm sure they said it at some point, but like I said, I didn't watch all day, every day, where exactly he was fishing. But you could see there was that like there was like a dike or something, some kind of like man-made hill. Like in the
I believe they were in
background.
a Popka.
Really?
I think it was a Popka, yeah.
Well, there's I don't know, but there was some kind of like man-made dike or something like behind all these like pencil reed islands that he was fishing. And I saw that in the background watching Bobby, and I was like, oh, it looks like he's kind of on Wheeler's spot. And then the camera turns and Wheeler's right there. And I was like, oh, what the heck? But like I said, I'm assuming they were probably sharing this area at multiple points or knew that each other were going to be in that area, because with all the drama we heard about spot stealing and people following each other on this tournament, I hadn't heard anything about Bobby and Jacob. So I'm assuming that was all fine. I just was like, huh. I didn't know if you guys maybe knew that situation, because
Well, I mean, with
what was happening.
the unwritten rules of bass fishing, the best way to solve that is just communicate and say, hey, I noticed you're in this area. I noticed you're in this area. We both practiced here. We're both going to be here in the tournament. How you want to work this out? And you just talk to them.
Now, Zub,
And they probably talked about it before.
Do we think that is maybe a better idea than just posting a video on social media?
No, because you get way more clicks and you get way more people looking at you.
Way more viewers.
Yeah, I mean, that might be, it might be the same situation, and just one guy didn't post a video crying about it.
Quite possibly.
I don't want to get into this because I'm a Keith Poche fan. I like what he does.
We got to
do like his thing. I don't know the full.
I hate to take it away. I hate to take it away from old Big Fish Bobby Lane, because congrats on winning the tournament, but this is the story.
What? Yeah, please explain, because I just remember someone texting me and was like, "What happened with Adrian?" And I was like,
So what I heard, and Alex, please interject if I'm wrong.
Yep.
So Keith Poche had a good whatever round, and he was in the top 10 and selected to have his camera on day 1. And he got a text, I guess, 6 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, you're going to have a camera. Cool. Then at like 6:45, they said he's not getting a camera. And he's like, I'm in the top 10. Why am I not getting a camera? And you're like, oh, camera, no camera. Why is that important? When you get more exposure and build your brand, that is just, it's everything. That's how you get paid. You don't get paid by winning tournaments. You get paid by your exposure. Yeah. So that's his paycheck. So I understand that. Now, Poche is in, I don't know the exact specifics, but he was in his, his little tin doohickey. and apparently they put Avina in there because Avina was going to be fishing faster, and they said that he was going to be a more convenient for the camera, but also based off location, when they ended up going to the same exact location.
Avina got his camera pulled also.
Oh, I did not know that.
They didn't pull it from Poche to Avina. They pulled the cameras from Poche and Avina.
Oh, you see there, that's where I'm wrong. I'll take over on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the camera thing is the smaller part of the story, and also the camera thing can be explained pretty easily. Major League Fishing put out a press release about it, which I actually thought was very clear, concise, and reasonable. Avina and Poche were both going to Apopka. They weren't going to be fishing for an hour and a half. Why would they give them a camera to watch them sit in the lock? They put the camera on two other guys, and then both of them had a camera in the second period. So,
so Poche got one in the second period.
Yeah, they both got cameras added to them in the second period. And
I mean, God, Poche's boat, it would take them like 2 hours to get to Apopka.
Yeah, so I don't.
Well, that just seems lame.
That was a misunderstanding, I think, because he made and posted that video in the morning before they even like took off. So like, I don't think anybody had to understand it. Like, I think they just like Keith just thought they took a camera from him, like to not have him on live. I guess nobody on the MLF side explained to Keith like
why
what their plan was.
Yeah, communication's important and things like that, because at the end of the day, you're playing with a man's bread. You know, you don't do that.
Yeah, but I mean, the guy wound up being on live all day. So anyway, just not for the first 2 hours while he's driving there.
Yeah.
The bigger story to me is him versus Avina, because they were both fishing the same stretch pretty much the whole tournament, it seems like. And Poche posted a video where, one, he was complaining about the camera, but also he goes, Wheeler's talking about he's sick of, apparently Wheeler was on live saying people were pulling in on him. He's sick of seeing people, spot jacking and stuff like that. And then Avina's over his left shoulder. And he goes, which is, pretty ironic because his buddy right over here, you can see him over my shoulder, and it's Avina's boat sitting right there. He goes, he's poaching my spot. He's running up on me. So it's pretty ironic that Wheeler lots to talk about not spot jumping, and his little buddy over here is doing it. So,
yikes, as they say.
So that video goes nuts.
Yeah, of course.
Then I don't know if you guys saw the Adrian Avina response video.
No.
Well, he was talking about like waypoints, right?
So Adrian Avina made a response video where he literally pulls up his graph and shows the waypoints on that stretch that are dated the first day of practice. And basically shows that he was fishing there the whole time. He said that this was basically his explanation. He said there was a long stretch, few hundred yards. He was at the top of it at the beginning of the day. Keith, which he goes, he threw a little shot at Keith. He goes, I'm already here fishing, and I hear that little, forget what he used. He said, I hear a buzzing sound, something weird, like a little lawnmower pulling up. And he goes, and then Keith pulls up and he stops in the middle of the stretch. And he goes, I had started and I planned on fishing the whole thing down because I thought I would be by myself. But my best stuff was at the end of the stretch. So I picked up and I went to the end of the stretch, which I guess Keith didn't see him in the beginning. And when he picked up and moved to the end, Keith thought that was Avina pulling up on him because he saw that Keith was catching fish on a score tracker, which according to Avina, I don't know exactly, the dimensions of what they were fishing, but he said he pulled like a few hundred yards past Keith. Like he wasn't like right up on him. So He posts that video. He shows the waypoints. They're dated to the first day of practice, yada, yada, yada. Seems to me, pretty
Just a misunderstanding
pretty,
almost.
yeah, pretty reasonable explanation. Then Keith posts another video today
Nice.
saying he's sorry about everything.
So he's like, oh shit, I got it
He
wrong.
said, sorry, I was wrong. But it was an interesting worded video. He's like, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It was a bad situation. I apologize to MLF. I was a little confused about the camera situation. I want to apologize to Major League Fishing. I want to apologize to, all my supporters and stuff. And then he goes, and I want to apologize to Adrian too. This is where his wording gets a little interesting. He goes, what I'm not going to apologize for is telling the truth. Because everything I say on here is the truth. But I am going to apologize to Adrian because him right, me right, doesn't really matter what the situation is. I shouldn't have done it the way I did it. And I'm going to call him after this and we'll have a conversation about it. So he apologized, but he didn't
Not really.
he didn't say that he was wrong.
Yeah.
He apologized for posting the video to social media. What he didn't do was acknowledge what Adrian said about oh, I was already here. I was fishing this spot. He kind of just didn't mention that part of it at all.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the whole format especially can cause such chaos on that first day because it's like, exactly the person that's already catching them. And you could have, how many practice waypoints do you lay down in like 2 or 3 days? And you were like, oh crap. You find out Wheeler's whacking them. You pull up to your second waypoint and Wheeler's sitting on it. Like, damn. Like, now what do I do?
Yeah, I heard a lot of people saying, Zub, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like a little puppy.
What are you doing? You're unbearably distracting.
I apologize.
Soup just wants his segment.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Brennan, continue, please.
No, I just think that it's a little chaotic. At least the 5 fish, like Bassmaster, you pull up onto your spot on the first, your second, third, fourth spot on the first day. Even if that guy was ending up in the lead on the first day, you don't know that. But I feel like knowing that on the very first day in the first couple of hours and you pull up on that person just makes it look 10 times worse than it really is.
It's also one of those things. It's like, how do you do it either way? Because you can be the most honest person in the world, but what everybody's got. You're getting updates on what guys got, right?
Yeah.
And you pull up to your second spot, which is honestly like your second spot. It was going to be that no matter what. But you pull up, and now the leader's there.
Yeah.
The spot. He's catching fish.
Like, what do you do?
So it's like, am I supposed to just
let him have it?
Am I supposed to just turn around and leave? I don't like.
Especially if it's like a spot that the guy's all by himself.
Especially if it's like 30 minutes into the tournament, it's like, do I have to nail it on my first spot? Like in a normal tournament, if I pulled up to my second spot and you're on it, I don't know what you have. I start fishing. Nobody thinks this, that, or the other about it.
Yeah.
But if I knew you had 20 pounds, now does it suddenly become a problem? I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, really, it throws you for a loop. I mean, what do you do? Are you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Because listen, here's the truth of it. You can be the most honest guy in the world. If you're fishing right next to a guy and that guy's lighting up the score tracker,
I'm not moving.
You're probably going to stick around a little longer than you normally would.
Yeah.
And try to figure out what's going on. You know what I mean? Like,
It's a weird idea of just knowing that person is like, exactly what's happening. You could be running by and you can see Wheeler and he's in first place and you're like, so like this area, like, is this better? Do I fish somewhere around here? What do you do?
I wish they would still give them the score tracker to keep track of weight and see what place they're in and like
But just not say
put the
who.
pressure on them, but not say who it is.
Yeah, that would make it so
Like
much.
if they were just like, hey, you're in 7th place with 62, the guy in front of you has 67.
Yeah.
And like you just don't 87 is in the lead. Like and you don't have to say who it is.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I like that.
That would make it, I mean, like, what's the point? What benefit does it have of telling you so-and-so is ahead of you or so-and-so is in first? Like, what that just makes it more
even like, dude, one time I was watching, I think it was, don't anybody quote me on this because I don't want to be slanderous if I don't get this right, but I think it was a Dustin Connell video on YouTube on the James last year.
Mhm.
And he pulls up on a spot and there's another guy there. I don't know who it was. Let's pick a name. Let's say it was Matt Becker. He pulls up on a spot and Matt Becker is there and he turns around to his marshal and he goes, hey, how much weight's Matt Becker got?
Yeah. I mean, and
which like you can do.
Yeah.
So like, is this
Matt's in third?
This is part of the sport, you know? Is this a part of the format?
Yeah. Is this now a strategy?
Yeah. You're like, hey, who's in first? I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
I saw him the other an hour
We
ago.
could look at it from the other way, saying, oh, if Matt Becker's, you know, in the lead, I'm not gonna run up on the leader either, you know?
Yeah. Or you could be looking at it in the way of,
hey, these top
I'm trying to hit a bunch of spots and not burn anything. Oh, Matt Becker only has 2 fish today. Let me.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
You know, like.
Yeah.
Or
it's like same thing. Like you realize, okay, these 3 guys are in the top 3, and you know where they are. It's like, well, I just got to do something similar or do the exact same.
Yeah, and it's like now, am I supposed to also put myself at a competitive disadvantage and eliminate a section of the lake because I drove past Wheeler yesterday and now he's leading the tournament. I know where he is. So am I not allowed to like touch that? Is that part of the lake now off limits to me? I can't even give myself a chance to go over and check something out because I have that knowledge now and it's you know, like I don't want that knowledge.
Yeah. It's a weird thing because I think about that even for like, because like we don't really fish many multiple day. We've only fished a handful of multiple day tournaments, but it's like you're doing that and you fished, you know, so let's say you have like the Harris chain. You have a couple spots in Griffin, but you also have a couple spots in Harris. And the first day you fish Harris, and then you find out the leader is now in Griffin. Like, do you go check your other spots in Griffin after you sucked a fat one on Harris on the first day? Like, do you go check your other spots or what do you do?
Yeah, and it's like I'm not gonna pull up and start fishing right next to the leader.
Yeah.
But because that was another part of the drama is guys like Keith and Avina, right? We're catching them in a Popka.
Mm-hmm.
And Keith was saying, oh, I went down to a Popka yesterday. I got there no problem, only me and a couple guys. I go down there today, and there's a line for the lock of guys who aren't even in the tournament. So I get him complaining about that, but also it's like, well, if I fished the other lakes yesterday
and
they sucked, why would I go do that again?
Exactly. Like, why beat the dead horse when
like
you know?
I'm not like Keith. If I knew exactly where you're fishing, I'm not going to come up and start fishing next to you. But to say the whole lake is off limits, like
that's crazy.
What are we talking about, dude?
Yeah,
do you just guys as they're going to watch? You know what I mean? You have to think about that aspect of the sport too. You know what I mean? You know where they're going to be. Guys are going to go watch. That's a part of it. It's a part of honesty and transparency. That's a big thing that the sport's leaning towards now. I mean, as long as you're not killing someone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess.
But does your whole tournament just ride on your very first spot on your very first day then? And then after that, it's just kind of like, well, you can't go there because that person's in first. That one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get that, I'm not going to go pull up and start fishing next to the leader. I'm not going to go up and pull up and start fishing next to anybody who's doing well on purpose,
But
what
you
I
might
mean?
go to a
But-
pop the second day.
Yeah, if I'm fishing Harris and I'm not catching anything, and the whole top 10 was fishing in a Popka,
Be
am I
like,
supposed to just put the boat on trailer and go home? If I'm fishing the next day, why would I not go there?
yeah, why scrap? Why just scrap your tournament on after the first day?
Again, I'm not going to pull up on you. I'm not going to fish your spot.
No, but if, say that a Popka has the better water clarity, or
yeah,
Harris
if
had a
that's
fish
where
bowl,
the
right?
fish are being caught.
If that's the healthy lake, you have the good grass there. I mean, and here's the thing: MLF, they're only fishing 30 boats, right, at a time, at the
60.
most, right?
No, they do all
60.
60. Yeah.
They do all 60, but later in the event, we'll see even 60.
Even
A
60 is
Popka
not a lot of boats, dude.
60, you could fish
A
everyone in
Popka's
the
not
pop.
a puddle,
No, it's a
Popka
big
is not
lake.
a puddle.
No.
It's a big lake. And I'm not saying run up on the same 100-yard stretch, but maybe that water quality is better. Maybe you have a better situation going on there. Maybe you could salvage something.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes back to the conversation we were having about size of lakes and stuff in the other podcast. I mean, 60 boats is like a Saturday morning open buddy. Like 60 boats is nothing, dude.
No. Dude, 60 boats spread across the Harris chain, like you wouldn't even you could just not even
You
see
can go out there
them
without seeing
all
anything.
day.
60 boats all on a Popka isn't a big deal.
Yeah. We've
not.
been close to 60 on a packong, and that's like a quarter of the size of a babka.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, but as fun and as good as it is for people like us to talk about on a podcast, it is one of those things. Like I said, sorry to Bobby Lane because he had a hell of a week and won the tournament, but yet again,
He's not the
there's an MLF tournament where the actual fishing isn't even the story.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like that is has been the big difference the past few years with MLF and Bass, and maybe that's why I'm more into Bass, is like every MLF tournament, the storyline is some kind of drama. He said, she said, a rule of this or that. Every Bass tournament is how the fishing was.
I've seen more about this breakdown than anything about Bobby Lane. I've seen more Toyota Series lure breakdowns than Bobby Lane coverage.
Yeah.
He won the freaking event.
Yeah, I mean, it's like hometown guy, big fish Bobby Lane, Florida flipping reads, and nobody's talking about that.
No.
Everybody's talking about Keith Poche and Adrian Avina, which Avina, I don't even think he wound up, he didn't even wind up making the championship day.
Yeah.
Like, after all that crying and complaining about him stealing your fish, he didn't even make the championship day. Poche did, but Poche didn't win either.
Yeah.
So why are we talking about either of these guys? Yeah, somebody, wants to post a fun little social media video. But
I think the format just leads to a little bit too many issues. It's not. It's there's just so much at play.
I'll tell you what though. If we were talking about the fishing though, it was a fun tournament to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
absolutely.
That was some old school bass, and it was. I'll tip my hat to MLF because this whole drama thing. It's not MLF's fault. They put on a great tournament. They had great coverage. It was a great event. I think the format really shined in this tournament and what they're trying to do. Like Zona said on his podcast, in the world of forward-facing sonar, the biggest thing now, the most important job in professional bass fishing is schedule making.
Yeah.
It's on the schedule makers to put it at the right places at the right time of year. And for this specific tournament, MLF nailed it.
Yeah.
I think they nailed it. And I think the Bassmaster schedule has a lot of especially compared to last year. Last year's schedule was like, I don't know what they were thinking.
That was just a
Like,
FFS.
I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, with the live scope talk already ramping up and people complaining about this and that, to put out that schedule was insane.
Yeah.
I don't know what, like, they were basically begging for this to happen. But I think with this year's schedule, we'll have to see how it actually plays out. There's definitely going to be live scoping happening. Like, there are definitely, like, let me see if I look at the Elite Series schedule here, right? You got St. John's River, probably not going to be a huge factor. It did play a little bit with guys like Trey McKinney last year.
Yeah.
So
guys
sure
can go.
it.
That we'll talk about that in a little bit, but there's the potential.
Interesting thing though about St. John's, I don't know if you guys heard about this, and this is going to limit the scoping heavily because this is what Fouts was doing last year. He was in the mix at St. John's. No Rodman.
I've heard about that.
Rodman Reservoir is off limits, which is where 80% of the St. John's scoping is going on out in that timber.
Why did they close off Rodman?
Probably
just to limit.
Probably just because of that.
Yeah.
Probably to like make people fish the actual river and not use live scope.
Yeah.
I haven't heard an explanation as why Rodman's off limits, but it's off limits. Then you go to Okeechobee. I mean, maybe if guys are going to try to,
I feel like if anything, it's going to be like
do the ring canal thing if they want to again, but
there, or the
pan,
the Tyler Rivet crappie spot as well. I mean, we forget that was one.
That's what I mean.
Last year, but everybody's.
That's
gonna be like is that gonna be a Jeff Gustafson type deal? You think? That's a whole other conversation.
I heard that the Open on Okeechobee last year featured quite a few high finishers doing that. So that's going to be very interesting to watch. I'm actually super interested to see how that plans out. Then you got that Pasquotank River tournament, which live scope will probably be as little of a factor there as anywhere else besides maybe the Sabine. But
I don't know about that. But that's a whole other thing too. There's going to be a lot of factors there as well.
Yeah.
It won't be a scoping type tournament though. You know what I mean? You're not looking for you talking about just looking for roamers? No, you're not looking for roamers.
Yeah, it's not going to be like obviously live scope is going to be a factor in every tournament ever from here until the end of time. I'm talking about you're not going to be watching 10 guys on live on day 4 with a spinning rod over their shoulder
and a little
waiting to see a dot. Obviously, nobody's gonna have their live. I mean, some people will, but nobody's gonna have their live scope turned off. Nobody fishes with their live scope turned off anymore.
No,
but they're not gonna be sitting there holding their rod, spinning their trolling motor around 25 minutes in between even taking a cast. Yeah. That's not gonna happen, is what I mean. Then you have Hartwell. It's gonna play on Hartwell, but it's also the end of April, a time of year when a lot of fish are going to be shallow. So I think you'll see probably a pretty good split there. Lake Fork, it's going to play at Lake Fork. It always will.
Yeah.
Sabine, we've seen it in the live scope era. Old school flipping Riverfest. 10 Killer, it's going to play. St. Clair, it's going to play, but it's smallmouth. You can't fish smallmouth without live scope anymore. If you want to have a smallmouth tournament, there's got to be live scope. That's just what it is. And then you end at the Mississippi River, which is
it could a little
good
bit
old frog and flipping fest. I mean, there's going to be some like shallow water live scoping type of thing, looking in current breaks and in ditches and stuff for smallmouth and stuff. But it's not like I said, it's not going to be what people hate.
When did they go to the Mississippi? What is that? September? No, it's gonna be earlier than that. August.
Yeah, it's August. Yeah, it's the last one. But I mean, pretty good schedule for that.
Yeah,
I like it. But speaking of schedules and how things can get all messed up real quick, how about the real curveball on Rayburn this week?
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I wanted to talk about next anyway. So 2 out of 3 days of an Open canceled. and they go to a 1-day shootout.
It's kind of crazy.
I hate it.
Imagine dropping what $2,000 on an entrance fee, and you're down to a 1-day shootout.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about this a little bit in our group chat, and there's a couple differing opinions between some of the guys, but like, you can cancel 1 day and make it 2 days. Okay, it happens. Yeah. When you gotta cancel a second day, you gotta postpone it, and everybody fishes on Saturday. You can't fish a 1-day open, dude.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Dude,
people are like, it's
time, money.
People take off of work. You got to travel back. You can't just add a day. It's a Saturday.
Yeah, I know. It's like you have one more day. People will drive through the night.
When I talk about work, the tournaments are scheduled on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Clearly, nobody's factoring work into this.
Yeah. People took off the entire week. What's one more day for
a day and travel anyway?
Believe me, not to get into this conversation, but you know, half the Opens field ain't working anyway. So
true.
But yeah, I don't know, man.
It's not even media coverage because there's no media coverage on it. It's not a TV slot. It's pure why.
I feel like they just didn't want to deal with the headache of rescheduling or like dealing with
rescheduling. You have it 1 day, everybody's already there. Bassmasters doesn't want to pay their people another day.
Yeah, you just added. I don't know. That's
Saturday, Sunday dirt.
If I'm in that tournament, dude, I'm pissed.
Yeah,
I'm pissed. I mean, I'm probably pretty happy if I'm Chris Miller, who's the guy who won the tournament, blew it out. Wasn't even close. He won.
Didn't have to back it up either.
28-10. And a lot of times when guys bust that big giant bag on the first day, they can't back it up. Not saying that Chris Miller wouldn't have. I'm sure he's great and everything, but that happens a lot of time. The guy who's leading the tournament in first usually doesn't shake out being the winner at the end of the tournament. And he won $50,000.
Yeah. For 1 day.
1 day of bass fishing. So I mean, if you're him, you're not mad about it. But if you're
the guy in second, third, fourth,
almost anybody else, you're probably mad about it. But I did want to say
trying
that
to qualify and you have a bomb. You're pissed.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. You have a 6-pound day and you're in.
I mean, you want to talk about
you tank your points.
You want to talk about how hard it is to make it through the Opens. Like, if you have a bad like people talk about it's so hard because you can't have one bad tournament. Well, guess what? When you do it like this, now all of a sudden you can't have one bad day.
Yeah.
You don't even.
You know what they should have done? They should have canceled the points for that one.
I mean, then why even have the tournament?
Yeah,
because everybody's there. Everybody's fishing them all to qualify for the Classic. You can still qualify for the Classic if you win. That's it. This doesn't affect your point standings. You still get paid if you get up there.
But now it's just even more riding on all the other tournaments, and then you'll have people complain regardless.
I think you just gotta fish on Saturday. I don't.
That's the only logical answer.
There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse to not fish on Saturday. That is the clear, logical, only answer here.
I mean, make it a freaking Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like, people will do it.
I don't know if I would push it that far because then, I get it. You are messing with people's lives and work. It's hard enough.
What's your take on a midday break? I think that's fine. You have 1 day, and then you cancel the next day, and then you have a shootout on Sunday or something like that. A full off day. That's happened before, right?
You mean like what? Top 10 on a Sunday or something like that?
No, like say full field 2 day. If you're going to do a full field 2 day shootout, you cancel a day 2, full field day 3. No cut.
Isn't that what they did?
No, they just had 1 day.
Yeah, that's what you mean.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, but that doesn't apply in this situation. They canceled both of the first 2 days.
Yeah.
I thought they canceled the first 2. I thought what happened was they pushed it back because they had like a window because they had they canceled the first day, and then they had
And
the
then
second.
they
Oh no, they canceled the
canceled the
first two.
second day.
I thought they canceled the middle day for some reason.
Well, they did cancel the middle day, but
And the first day.
But yeah.
they fished the last
Yeah,
day.
you know what I
The
mean.
tournament was a
I
Wednesday,
thought-
a Thursday, and a Friday. They canceled
Okay.
Wednesday and Thursday. They fished on Friday.
How bad
Okay,
were the winds
so-
on the second day? Were they blowing?
Got to be pretty bad to cancel an Open, I'd imagine.
Yeah. They said, local
Especially
guys say,
Open, they
you
don't
got 6
plan on
footers.
rescheduling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
I mean, I don't know what I thought for some reason that the tournament they canceled day 1 and then they had day 2 or like the morning of day 2 they saw that the winds were gonna be bad and they made it a 1 day or something like that. Or like the night before day 2 they saw it was gonna be really bad on day 3. So they made it a 1 day day 2.
They fished on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah,
Either way, yes.
Yeah, it's just like again, I don't know, dude. Just fish Saturday.
people have
Yeah.
so much time and money invested in the Opens. Like, I mean, yeah, there's a handful of guys that just sign up to fish 1 or 2 or 3 of them for like a region or something, but like those guys that are there to try to make the Elite Series, dude, there's so much riding on that tournament to have it just down to 1 day.
Yeah, I can't comprehend that decision. I really can't.
But like
It just seems so easy.
Everything's set up. Just keep it 1 more day.
With that said, though, I mean, you look at the, I don't want to say it because you don't know how it shakes out. But if you look at like the top, 50, 60, all the guys in like the range where those are good points and you're all right with it, it's like, it looks like about the same guys as it usually is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
We'll find out at the end of the season when one guy's like, I would have made the Elite Series if it wasn't for day 1, the only day on Sam Raver.
I mean, if I fished that Sam Rayburn tournament and I didn't come in the top 50, I would blame that for everything that goes wrong in my life for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Like that would be, I would use that as an excuse for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's also like, again, we're talking about scheduling and how they nailed it in the Elite Series. I don't know, dude. Maybe don't have a tournament on a gigantic, wide open lake in Texas in February.
Yeah.
they always do though.
I know, but like you gotta think that factors into this. I don't just think that. I know that it did because they wrote it in the press release for one of the days that the water temperature and the air temperature like factored into the decision of like that makes the wind even more dangerous. It's like, dude, stop this.
Yeah.
Not only that, I guess, but I guess
Stop fishing in. If we're not going to Florida, stop fishing in February.
Yeah.
Why? It's still cold, dude. I get
You're
like
talking about hypothermic conditions.
We're in the Northeast. It's actually impossible because we have ice.
Yeah.
But especially this year, like with how the weather is, and I mean, really any year. If you're not in like Florida or like, I don't know, maybe Arizona, but nobody's
California,
Arizona
yeah.
or Southern California or whatever. If you're not there, dude, stop putting tournaments, major tournaments when it's going to be 30 degrees out.
Or like find a different lake that maybe is a little bit better than Sam Raver. Like
that's how all those rivers flow to the Gulf. Because you have Sam, you have Toledo Bend up there, you have all your major
big, giant, wide open. Here's an idea: if you wanna put a tournament in February, right? and you don't want it to be on Florida. You want to be somewhere different, somewhere cool. Why don't we put it on like Smith Lake?
Yeah.
Where it's like a mile and a half wide.
Something where it can't pick up. Dude, there's just so many big
you know what
lakes.
I mean? Why Sam Rayburn in February? You know this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's you're hoping for, you have to think about, the amount of Texas anglers and they're trying to appeal to that Texas angler and that Texas water body because that's something,
Okay, so then do the Texas
EQ.
one in April.
I agree. Or maybe even March. Maybe even a late March.
Yeah.
You have an actual pre-spawn up there. It is early, but they do have it there because you could have those worm spells and Sam Ray. It's a weird call. I think that if you're going to have a tournament on there, you have to be prepared to have the contingency dates. I think they should have that for any tournament.
Yeah,
you never know when severe weather is going to come through.
It should be built into it that, like, hey.
It should be. No, I completely agree. Built-in contingencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Not the greatest idea. Not the greatest scheduling or just backups. I mean, just constantly. Should always have a Saturday booked in there. Just like, if we have to cancel. I mean, even if they have to cancel one day, why not just always have the Saturday as an option to make it a 3-day tournament?
It should be built into the thing of like, hey, you're going to fish this open. Hey, everybody keep in mind that you got to leave this Saturday open because we might be fishing on Saturday if something goes wrong.
Especially if they cancel day one and they go to Saturday. Well, Saturday is just going to be the top 10 anyways. It's not like you're dragging the whole field.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
just establish that. And honestly, I don't like this, but if you really had to, at least make it a day 2 for like the top 25 or something. Like,
yeah,
you don't have to pull the whole field. I would like you to pull the whole field because one day is still ridiculous. But, like, that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I think you have to pull the whole field, though, because the whole main opportunity, though, is,
yes,
it's giving the guys that had a bomb to salvage their open season to save their points. I think that's the biggest freaking part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you just, in a situation where the margin for error is so small already, you just, like, you slimmed. You turned it from, you changed it from there being a little margin of error. You took that and you changed it into more being like a big margin of luck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you gotta look, if you want to qualify through the opens, you can't have a bad event. You gotta be good at every event. You gotta fish a big year, right? But I mean, if with it being a 1-day shootout on an open where there's 4 opens to qualify for the next level, or whatever, right? So you got 4 tournaments.
Yeah.
You have 4 tournaments. Your season could be over because of one, like, half-hour decision.
Yeah. Or, dude, even just like you hear so many people are like, "Oh, that one fish saved my whole tournament." Like, dude, you can catch that fish on the second day, but if you didn't catch it on the first day, your tournament wasn't saved.
Or like something that's not even your fault. Like a fish gets it weird and
your engine breaks on day 1. Like, you know.
I mean, it's even like a fish bites it weird and comes off. Like, not even like a fish that you lost because of your own fault. Like, it was just kind of weird. You know, you lose a 5-pounder. It's like, okay, well, that's my whole season now.
Yeah.
Like, I lost 1 fish. My entire season's over.
Yep. No more Elite Series for 2025.
I don't know. You're cutting that margin of error so slim that it feels like it becomes even out of your control.
Yeah. Yeah, not the best decision by Bass for that one, but
I don't know. I think that's crazy. I'm happy I wasn't in that tournament because I'd be furious. But I guess wrapping that up, we'll talk. You want to talk? St. John's.
Oh.
You want to talk Elite Series?
Zoom picks.
Yeah. Long live the elites. I'm sorry, I've been tinkering with my heater. I'm running out of propane.
There you go.
And I also got some treats. I've been distracted, and it's kind of giving me the little piece of dopamine that's back again. And the other piece of dopamine that I got to finish setting up is Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing 2025. Something that gives me hope in life. So I'm going to try.
It's Bums Talk Bass on Fantasy Fishing.
Yeah.
So if I go to present
okay,
and share screen.
Let's see.
Double check.
Jesus Christ, I got to take some. What are we seeing? Are we seeing me?
I'm seeing you, yeah. Oh, I got it. Hang on.
You got me?
Yeah. There it is.
Okay, cool. And maybe we'll figure it out maybe a better way in the future, but this is the first part. And I'm going to be yapping to you guys while I do this because I've done a handful of research. But I am going to go to the groups, and I'm going to go to my favorite group, which is Bums Talk Bass.
There
and
it
I'm
is.
going to go click. Yeah. Look at this. And there are prizes, fellas. There are prizes. So help us me. Oh, whoa.
Nope, see you later.
See you later. There I am. So no, hopefully, fellas, if we get to our subscriber count, we're going to have some prizes for this fantasy group, and they're pretty good. One of them, I'll reveal it right now, is a Depths Evoke 150 I am throwing in just to start. A beautiful Whopper Plopper alternative, and it is a real fun one. I was poking around here, but I'm gonna negate this. I was thinking. So we're gonna start off with fantasy here, the standard 5-bucket format that we all know and love. Buckets this year, you have to remember, we got some new faces, some old faces not around. But bucket A, your favorites a lot of the times. And we got a lot of it's so tough. There isn't really a bad pick. I'll tell you what I'm looking at though right now is Patrick Walters here, right?
Oh,
15%.
Okay.
I bet those 15% don't know that Rodman Reservoir is off limits right now.
I was gonna say that's kind of his go-to. He always
that is his go-to. I think a lot of people don't know that. Now, starting off the season for me, I don't know about you guys. You don't want to start off in a hole. You don't want to finish 100, 233, 3,000th place at Sam Rayburn Reservoir in the second open of the year. You want to come off strong. And you know how I think you come off strong in a St. John's River event? You pick someone who lives the furthest possible distance away, which is one of the Johnstons.
I was going to say you pick a Johnston.
You do pick a Johnston, and I think it's a coin flip because you have to remember Corey won on bed fishing last year, right?
But bed fishing,
we have a totally different set of conditions this year. We got multiple cold fronts. It's cold. It's windy. It sucks, but they still catch them when it sucks. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with Chris on this one. I think I'm going to go with Chris.
Brennan, did you set your team already?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember who you took? Because I do.
I do, yeah. I have it up too.
So who'd you pick? I guess we might as well go bucket for bucket. Zubel pick live.
Let's go bucket for bucket. Let's go.
Yeah, I took. I'm doing it. I'm riding the train this year. I was a little late to the party last year. I'm not going to be late to the party this year. I took Trey McKinney.
Not a bad pick.
I'm sorry. I'm riding the Trey McKinney train this year. I'm picking him until he makes me not.
I also picked Trey McKinney.
Wow.
You know, he's just he did too well last year to not.
I will be picking him until he tells me not to.
Yeah.
Now, with that, I'm going to throw out some honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Father Gill. Hammer. Probably on caliber with Trey McKinney. That guy's fishy.
If it was a live tournament, I would pick him.
Now, it might be. So now we're going to move down here to the second coming of KVD, in my opinion, which is Sweet Baby John Garrett.
Second coming of KVD.
That's a bold statement.
Second coming of KVD when it comes to understanding offshore fishing and side scan. I believe that John Garrett is very talented in that aspect.
Stylistically, yeah, I guess he's kind of in that.
That's why I'm coming back to him on that. And I'm saying that because the St. Johns River usually gets overshadowed by how much of an offshore fishery it is. There is a lot of good shell out there. There is a lot of good offshore environments that persist in the St. Johns River,
which is why
John Garrett still might sneak in there.
Which is why I picked Trey McKinney, because he did it really well last year.
Yeah,
that's not a bad move. John Garrett is also someone who could sneak in there. He had a phenomenal finish. I mean, it's different Florida, but still on the Harris Chain last year, he won there. He's a solid pick. Another solid pick for that shell game could also be Lester. Lester's someone that could do both. 18%, you have Jordan Lee.
Jordan Lee.
He just catches them.
Yeah.
He just freaking catches them.
I really, especially in a cold front and in conditions we have right now, I don't hate a Justin Hamner pick. I think it's going to be a jerk baity tournament.
I agree with that, which is where you could also make the argument for Patrick Walters, except the fact that Rodman is off limits.
Yeah.
Any other honorable mentions?
Who else was in there?
I don't know. The two main guys I was back and forth between. Well, you have to say the Johnstons. Either Johnston was in my mind just because, like, for some reason they seem to do good here. But outside of the Johnstons, my real thought was between Trey and Hamner.
I was thinking Fouts too for this one because he did well here last year. He was like, what, third, fourth? But I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember exactly what he was doing last year. I'm assuming it was scoping.
He was scoping in Rodman, which will not be happening. So,
but still, Fouts had a good season last year, and he has a lot of momentum coming off.
Very much.
So let's pop over to Bucket B. Bucket B, another really good group here. Let's see here. Let's look around here. Low percent. Whoa, 40%. John Cox. I wonder why. Florida, stickler. Shallow water, stickler. The fan favorite for a good reason. Is he a good pick? Absolutely. However, another good pick who has a lot of experience on the St. John's, who I think I'm going to go with this week through his pure versatility and especially these frontal conditions. I'm going with Drew Benton this week, boys.
That's my pick.
That was also mine.
Okay.
Wow. That's a clean sweep for Benton.
Oh, no.
You are a phenomenal actor. Because of this, I might have to not pick you to try and get ahead of here. But as I'm looking through Bucket B here, we got some new faces. Welcome back, Randy Howell.
Oh, yeah. I did notice that. I forgot he joined this. He got back this year.
How about that one? Welcome.
Got back on a rule that shouldn't exist.
I know. Welcome Tucker Smith, I guess. We got two new faces here.
He'll be there.
Now let's go through with some honorable mentions. Starting off at the top, Matt Airy, honorable mention.
I thought about Matt Airy. I did. I really did.
Matt Airy's a solid pick. He understands the water well. He understands Florida well. He understands the styles of fishing that are anticipated very well. He's a good pick. Below that, Drew Cook. Now, Drew Cook, if it was a little later and there's a little more sight fishing going on, I would go in and pick Drew Cook. I don't see that sight fishing. And the other reason I don't see that sight fishing going on is why I'm not picking John Cox. Because although Cox is certainly going to catch him and probably going to be in the top 10, Cox is a phenomenal sight fisherman. And I just don't see that playing yet.
I think Here's my thing with John Cox. And it seems to have been true for the past few years. John Cox, when he has like 40-something%, loves to just like totally not show up and then top 10 at like
some
a small fishery.
Yeah.
Or Wheeler.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that at Wheeler.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like,
when it comes to Florida, he like booms on day 1 or 2 because he has some sneaky little like shallow water holes, and then like 3 and 4, those days he kind of drops off.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong. I might not be totally remembering this, but I mean they go to the St. Johns River a lot. I don't remember John Cox ever being a factor here before.
He's always sneaks around there, but hey, maybe he's finally putting the pieces together. You know?
listen, I'm not against picking the favorites as he's. I mean, I picked Drew Benton. He's at 25%. That's quite a huge percentage. But I do have this thing about me where I just, unless it's like one of those guarantees, like unless it's like,
if he was on the Harris chain,
not even that. I mean, unless it's like, I don't know, the Johnstons on the St. Lawrence or like something like that. Like, I never ever want to pick the guy with the highest percentage. Like,
they got too much.
It's just something in my head. I just can't do it.
Yeah,
I have to remember this percentage is purely just off the amount of people that picked him.
Yeah,
people just, and a lot of times people just say, Florida going
I know
there. That
that
isn't like a ranking. It's not an odds. It's purely who picked him.
Yeah. But that means everyone's thinking this guy's going to do well. And I
don't know if I want to win fantasy fishing. I don't want to have the same roster as everybody else, even though it seems like I have the same roster as you two.
But, that's just great minds to think alike. Let's move back down onto some Zub's honorable mentions. Stetson Blaylock. He likes this kind of stuff. He could sneak around there. I could see him finding something sneaky and putting up some solid
see him in the mix.
Keep going down here. Now there's no bad anglers here. Guys can sneak in. A guy like Porowsnik, who understands tidal water very well, being a Potomac person, he could, sneak in there.
I really like. I kind of like if he's a super low percentage here. If he was in like a C or a D bucket,
he wouldn't be a bad pick.
I like Wes Logan.
Yeah.
Wes Logan is another good fisherman. Wes Logan is probably, I don't know if they're going to be on it yet. He's one of the best swim jig fishermen out there.
Yeah, I can't take him in B. I feel like he's in a little hot in a little high of a bucket for this. If he was in a lower bucket, he's somebody I would strongly consider.
Absolutely. Yeah. What about you, Brennan? You got anybody?
I don't know. This one, Wetherell. This one I was kind of torn. I mean, for me, I was up at like a Benton or a Cook. I think Taku always does pretty well. I mean, he kind of sneaks in a lot of places. I feel like you got a 50-50 chance with him doing well.
I love Taku.
Yeah. He might do something sneaky, cold front, throwing a little weird dice going on. It's not out of.
I love when Taku is in like a C bucket. Like if Taku is in bucket C, he's an automatic pick for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking of bucket C,
there it is.
There it is. Middle of the road, bucket C. And there are a lot of good picks in here. You know who strikes me as a really good pick right off the bat? And I'm just going to plop him in here while I think about it, is Bob Downey. Bob Downey had a phenomenal tournament last year. He did a little sight fishing, did a little bed fishing.
I thought that was 2 years ago.
I think last year it was.
Was it?
Not 2 years ago.
When he was throwing that trap?
Yeah.
In the river section of the Springs?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that 2 years ago?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Well, either way, Bob Downey knows how to throw a trap in Florida pretty well. And
and honestly, I could see the conditions being a trappy shell bed type of thing potentially.
That's what I'm saying. I think he could be a good sneaker in there, along with some other good sneakers. Could be Mr. Greg, and 31.6 people think so. That's crazy.
I don't know if you guys tuned into the Zona podcast, but Zona made a mention when they were talking about this tournament that, he's really good friends with Hackney. And Hackney has a really, really good track record here at St. John's. And he's always flipping like the same set of cypress trees, it seems like. But Zona said he made a comment to him, hey, you got a lot of top 10s on the St. John's. What's the deal? How do you always manage to do so good but not win it? And Hackney said, just wait for the next one. It's coming.
Oh. When did that end?
Hackney's
week
feeling
ago.
ferocious, and Hackney last
A
year
week
they
ago.
went there a little later. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? They were there a little later last year. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I
of.
think they did a late Florida swing. I think they were there in April, weren't they?
Right, because Hackney was
like
there. Now
late
I
March.
remember. It was 2 years ago because Hackney was there for the shad spawn.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. They were there. Yeah, I remember.
Hackney was fishing a shad spawn in those cypress trees and throwing a 20-bladed spinnerbait.
Yeah.
up in the trees, and then you had Ray Hanselman throwing a spook on a bluff wall, not bluff wall, a seawall. But that's a whole other thing. I will not be picking Ray Hanselman this week. Shout out Ray Hanselman. But like, I will not be picking you this week.
Is Ray Hanselman still in the field?
I think so. We'll see. We will find
We're gonna find out.
So another Seth isn't a bad. He doesn't do great here, but he does well. Felix does well. I feel like those guys aren't going to bomb you, you know? But you're not looking to survive. Now you're looking to thrive. Another really good, solid pick, Mr. Brandon, Mr. BMP Fishing. Shout out Brandon Polinick.
Doesn't he fish
always
a lot, though?
He fishes the canal outside. I don't know if he goes in.
Low bucket for a Polinick.
Yeah.
Low bucket.
A lot of value
you
there.
have to remember, he had a rougher finish.
He did have a rough year. He did have a rough year, but not the type of guy you expect to have 2 rough years in a row.
No, that's something that will not be happening for Brandon Polinick.
I would not be surprised to see a massive year out of Brandon.
Oh, look at that. New face. Welcome to the show, Paul Marks. What's up, kid?
Hey. Saw him on the Opens a few times.
Who else do we have around here that could be a little bit of a player? Tyler Yvette could be a player.
Another guy who got into the Elite Series on a rule that shouldn't exist, but whatever.
Oh.
Not Tyler Yvette. I'm talking about Cliff Pace.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not picking Mr. Cliff Pacemaker Pace.
What do you think of Brian Schmidt in there?
I love Brian Schmidt.
I love another fishery in there.
Exactly. Another title guy, a grass understander, a guy who could really understand a Florida cold front or any type of a cold front in a title fishery. He's a sneaky one. He still might make an appearance on the roster. Yeah. Welcher had an okay tournament there last year, but Welcher, he's a very good shallow fisherman, and Welcher's a very meticulous fisherman, but he's also a rodman fisherman. So I do not know with him. What do you guys think? Did I miss anything?
Well, I'll tell you who I took. I took Seth.
I took Welcher. I figured just I wasn't super pleased with anyone in this one, honestly. Not like I felt like they were all like just decent picks.
Yeah,
like,
my thought process was either
someone that won't bomb, someone that might do well, but
yeah, my top 3 were Seth, Polinick, and Welcher, and I went with Seth just because he's had a couple better events here lately, and it seems like his Florida game is getting better and better and better, and he also seems pretty safe from a bomb.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It just felt right to me.
I was torn between Welcher and Polinick, but I was like, I need Polinick to show me once that he's back for.
That's exactly what I thought. I think Polinick is going to have a big year this year, but I got to see it a little bit before I dive in head first.
His kids are older now, you know, like not crying at night. He might get some sleep before.
Don't be saying that. Don't be saying that having a kid makes you a bad fisherman, because it doesn't. Does it put some more stress on you? But I think his head's in the game. I think he's ready to go.
Well, I mean, it is true. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to become a bad fisherman. You could be Andre and be bad before and after the kid.
Very true.
Yeah, bro. Brendan, watch out. You're an okay fisherman now, but I don't know. You got the new house there. You got the fiance coming. I don't know.
I'm gonna be a trash fisherman this year now.
It's all over.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Zub? You sticking with old Bounty?
I think I'm gonna ride out with Bob Downey. Now I have some more research to do, and things might shift around.
Now
I look at everybody's Instagram stories the night before, and I sweat my ass off until I figure out what the hell's going on.
It's very true. You gotta check the practice
one
stories.
year. I don't know. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but Bob Downey missed an event and still made the classic. But because he missed an event, he was down in points all year. So I was taking him like every tournament in like bucket D, and he was catching them.
Old Minnesota boy Bob Downey catches him.
Yeah, he's a heavily underrated Elite Series fisherman.
Now moving back in here, shout out Bob Downey. We are now in Group D, where we like to see a lot of our old tiny favorites, like last year's OK finisher Ray Hanselman. Shout out Ray Hanselman, is still in the game.
He is in the field.
Yeah,
is in the field. Now, what catches my eye here is a whopping 30% for Mr. Jason Christie, who has a very nice name.
Yeah.
Jason Christie, this sets up wonderful for him. It is a really good. I don't know if it sets up wonderful for him. Allegedly, it does. He has good history here. The stylings fit him, but he's also a household name, and that could bleed into household hype. He had, last year, he had a I forget which tournament it was, but he went extremely shallow, and people thought, oh, he's going to smash him, and he had a horrible start. I forget which one that was, but it was something with similar conditions. It might have been Toledo Bend. It was Toledo Bend. Because that's where they started.
He was very disappointing on his home lake in the Classic.
Yeah. He was. And that could shake up a person. That could change a man. So Christie could be a dangerous player, but I don't know if he's, he has my love yet. Hank Cherry's another person that could, if it's, jerk baity, shallow jerk baity.
You want to talk about a jerk baiter?
He did decent last year, right?
He's probably the second best jerk bait guy in the field.
Hank Cherry could be there. Brandon Cobb has good history, but he doesn't strike me as the guy that I want in this bucket just yet. Moving down, we have Mr. Tim Doob. Shout out Tim Doob. I'm not picking you, but shout out Tim Doob. Keep going down. Caleb Kufal. You have screwed me so many times. Shout out Caleb Kufal.
Caleb Kufal, randomly was like, hey, guys, check it out. I'm really, really good at flipping. So I see him sitting there in bucket E in a flipping tournament. I'm like, give me Kufal. He showed me a couple times he's really good at flipping. Nope.
I'm saying this right now. I will be picking him for the Mississippi River event. That will happen.
That's a solid pick,
bucket. That's going to be a solid pick there.
The only way I'm not picking him is if he's in the same bucket as Brian Schmidt, because Brian Schmidt's getting picked for Mississippi River no matter what.
Yeah.
No, a man with similar initials as Brian Schmidt is Bryant Smith, who is who I will also not be picking for this.
I was going to say, no.
But no, there's just, we got another one. Emil Wagner, welcome to the show. I don't like this bucket. There's not a lot.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I don't like it at all, dude.
Al, are you part of the 30.0%?
I am.
Welcome to the club.
I'm in a cherry kind of mood, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's a good pick because we did talk about the potential of the cold front jerk baiting thing. We didn't pull it out in the first few buckets. So
it's nice to have someone in that arsenal. Also, miss someone. Shout out Andrew Loberg. Welcome to the show.
Very good fisherman. Very, very. I don't think a ton of people in at least in mainstream might not know his name, but that guy catches them.
Does catch him. I am excited to see him later.
He's going to be a factor. He's going to be a big time factor.
He might not be in bucket D for long.
Absolutely not. Do you guys see anybody else?
I honestly wouldn't hate him here.
It's just so hard to tell of someone that doesn't have a lot of history on this place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did what I told you I hate doing, and I took the favorite. I took Jason Christie. I didn't like bucket. I'm just hoping he doesn't give me a bomb, and that's just
it's not a bad strategy, especially early in the year, because when everybody bombs, nobody bombs, and when you have such a high percentage in this bracket, you're not going to tank your points for the year, but you're not going to get that big jump. So
here's the thing: there was nobody in this bucket that gave me conviction to be like normally I look in a bucket and I see a guy, and I'm like, He's begging me to do it. I didn't get any of that in here. So
Yeah.
Oh, that is Brennan. You
somebody
got
in this
anybody
bucket's
here?
going to be in the top 10, though, and it's going to kick us in the
Absolutely.
throat. So
I was
think that's
torn
how it goes
between Cherry and Christie, but I jumped on the bandwagon.
me and Brennan have
You
the
guys
same
are just
We have identical lineups almost.
This is
two halves of the whole brainworm there, let me tell you.
yeah.
All right. So, yeah, that's really about it. I don't know why 8.4% on Matt Robertson, but hey, prove me wrong, Matty.
Hey, man,
He can fish shell. He can fish offshore.
He's a
He can do a
name.
little bit of everything. He is
He's a name in a bucket with not a lot of names.
It's fair. You know, even a guy like, sorry, shout out Matt Herron, maybe not. But like, you know, maybe even a guy like Logan Gattuso, a shallow flipper Louisiana boy.
I wouldn't vomit at a Matt Herron pick. I mean, the guy is a good shallow water fisherman, and he's been here a lot of times.
Yeah. You know who else I wouldn't vomit at? A Paul Mueller pick. Paul Mueller, for some reason, likes this place. He does well here. He did well.
Yes, but also he won that tournament.
It was a different set of
weirdest conditions of all time when like nobody really caught him. I don't know, but
finally coming into the last one here. Ooh, we got a new name. Alex, you want to shout out Bo Browning? Shout out Bo Browning.
Next.
Welcome to the show.
What happens if he starts cracking them and you got to pick him?
I won't.
So, another Oklahoma person, Blake Caps. Shout out you. Probably not going to pick you this week. But coming down here, looking already, Dakota Ebert. What a hammer. What a name. Dominant on the Opens, dominant on MLF, dominant before he left. An absolute stickler that catches them in every condition possible. I'm going with John Cruz. Oh. And I think so far I'm going with John Cruz. I think he's a very good pick for the situation. Dakota is also a fantastic pick. I just can't remember the last time I saw him in Florida, and I don't know how he's going to handle, but I think he's a very versatile fisherman, and he will catch them this week. Along with that, Cruz will also catch him this week. Other guys that will probably catch him this week. I don't hate Buddy Gross. Buddy Gross has been falling off a little bit. I don't hate the pick. Don't hate the pick. Ooh, this guy. Heard he catches him. Evan Kung, welcome to the show. Ed Laughrin. Kind of not a bad pick. I feel like he could understand this place, but I don't love him. Oh, Scott, great Scott Martin.
Scott's got a large percentage on him.
Large percentage. Also,
that Florida tag really jumped him up, I feel like.
That Florida tag pushed him up a little bit. The
Scott
Martin name.
Scott Martin has to have the worst pick percentage to performance ratio in fantasy fishing history.
But will you pick him on Okeechobee?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question.
That's the thing. Can he do it again? Can he do
is he gonna be in Bucket E again?
You have Tyler Rivette.
If he's gonna be in Bucket E again, yes, I'm definitely gonna pick Scott. Yeah. If he's gonna be in Bucket A, I don't know. But
I don't know. David Mullins pick. I definitely hated Bernie Schultz pick. And that's about it. That's all I could really say about this one.
When I opened up Bucket E, I thought there was a clear and obvious no-doubter pick. Based on these percentages, America doesn't totally agree with me, but they kind of agree with me. And another guy agrees with me, and that guy is Jason Zubris. I think John Cruz is the no-doubter Bucket E pick. He catches them every single time they go here.
Absolutely. He's just a solid, safe bet no matter the conditions.
I was actually shocked to even see John Cruz in Bucket E because I know for the most part they go on points, but like they'll always move guys up if they're like a local favorite. Like I said, like Scott will probably be in a high bucket for Okeechobee regardless of how the points are, just because they always do. Like Christie was an automatic Bucket A for Grand Lake, no matter what the points were, stuff like that. I expect like John Cruz does good enough here consistently. Get off of that page. John Cruz does good enough here consistently enough that I thought that he was going to be in a high bucket. And to see him all the way down at bucket E, especially in bucket E, and not even have the highest percentage in bucket E, I think is crazy. I think he's a no-brainer for me.
Absolutely. Could not agree anymore. Mr. Brennan Chuprinko, your thoughts on the final bucket?
I went off the rails on this one. This is where we differentiate ourselves from all the other picks. We went a little crazy, and we went with Bernie Schultz. The man kind of shows up at random times, and it tends to be in Florida. So I was like, you know what? I'll put my faith in you, Schultz.
Bernie is just coming off surgery this year.
Yeah, from the off season. Yeah, I don't know. He seems to catch some big ones, and he seems.
You know what Bernie loves to do?
What?
Bite fish.
Bernie loves to catch 30 pounds on day one and not make the final day.
Yo, well, I figured if he could get me to like 15th place, I'd be happy.
I mean, whether it's Florida, whether it's up north, I mean, he did that on the St. Lawrence once. He had like 28 pounds on the first day, and then just 15, and then 10. Like,
I'll straight up say it. If Rick Clunn was in bucket D, I would have picked him
for sure.
I would have made sure that he got his breakfast the night before. I would have made sure that he got an ample 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And I would have made sure that there were at least 7 spinnerbaits on his deck.
I don't hate Jake Whitaker in this bucket.
If that's not a name you hear too often.
If this is kind of like a tougher bite type of deal, I can very easily see Jake Whitaker coming in like 30 something, throwing a Senko in a canal, catching like 13, 14 pounds a day. Oh, there it is.
He likes, wow, Jake Whitaker, fellow college hammer. Look at this guy, 2014.
Yeah, he went to UNC
Charlotte. Yeah.
Was he in college when we were there?
Look at that. 2020 St. John's.
That's what I'm saying. 2020, that was a tougher year, wasn't it?
That was a tough year.
Was a tough year.
Telling you, I could see this guy catching a slick 14 pounds a day on a Senko if it's really tough.
Now,
but I could also see John Cruz doing that.
Take us to your pounds and ounces.
John Cruz doing that.
Where do you see
so? This is gonna be it's Florida, but it's cold, but it's still Florida. I'm thinking for myself, when you have your best condition possible, there's going to be a 24 to 26 pound bag brought in. I think it's going to happen. But after that, 17, 16.
24 to 20, absolutely there will be.
Right. But I don't think
the conditions are right, you could have a 30 pound bag here.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But I don't think the conditions are right. I think someone's still going to catch him every once in a while.
Someone's going to bust a bag like they always do. Someone's always going to catch them like they always do.
Yep.
I'm thinking we're going to hammer the over on the 88.
Whoa. Big baller here.
Okay.
89.7 we're going to go with.
Wow.
That's ballsy.
What do we got here? What are we?
I just hammered a nice, clean, even 80. I think 20 pounds a day does it in cold conditions, if not less, honestly. But
I dropped it less.
I think this is, like you said, I think this is a 26 on day 1, 20 on day 2, 17, 18 on day 3, 15 on day 4 type of win.
I feel like it's gonna be cold. What did I looked up Placa, Florida weather earlier. Oh damn!
It's cold.
Yeah, I dropped it down to 76.8 because last year, like the top first place was 80 something, and then like just over 80, and then second, third, and fourth were all in the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think positively, but I think truthfully in my heart, Brennan is closest to what the weight will probably be.
Only time will tell.
I mean, I can also see this being a tournament where a guy consistently catches like 18, 19 pounds 4 days in a row and wins it.
Yeah.
Wow, how are we doing on time?
We're at an hour and a half, so
Hour and a half. Then really quick then, I'm going to go to Games Home, and I'm going to explore something. I'm not going to do the Drain in the Lake, because I'll just openly admit my Drain Lake strategy is I write down everybody at the beginning of the year, and I go through it, and I haven't written them down yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I pick everybody for each tournament.
There you
However,
go.
that way you don't run out of anybody. You don't think, oh man, I wish I had him here. You just go through and write them down. But I do see the new Bassmaster Pick'em Challenge.
I just want to interject real quick. The past 2 years in a row, I've not done Drain the Lake because I forgot to do it at the first tournament and then was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not doing this now. I did remember to do it. So I am participating in Drain the Lake this year.
I will be diving into it. We might do a Drain the Lake thing for the fantasy group, for our fantasy group. We don't know yet. We'll see how many people do it.
Yeah.
I would like to see what this is about.
Pick 'em.
Pick 'em. This is.
I went through and I made picks, but
let's go through and pick him here. Chris Johnston, reigning AOY versus reigning ROY.
I mean, this is me and Brennan versus
good.
Zub Bucket A.
Yeah.
I like this. Well, I'm hammering with my guy, Canadian Chris.
Obviously, I had to take
this.
the guy that I took, but I could very, very easily see me losing it.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going for a Florida showdown right now, let me put on Cox just to switch it up a little bit.
Dude, I did the same thing. I took Drew Benton on my fantasy team, but then I took John Cox in this because I was like, hey, I got to diversify, I got to hedge
diversify the portfolio, you know what I mean? So what do you got, Brennan? Matchup 3, Battle of the Beards. Who do you got here? Are we just going off pure beard? Because, I don't – these guys
the thicker beard, but –
I don't like him for either one. I'm going to pick Fouts on this one. Only for the reason is, shout out Jacob Fouts, but you, without that beard when you were in college, you were an ugly motherfucker. So that beard really did you well. So I'm going to go with that one. How about you, Brennan?
I'll go with Fouts.
I went with Rob just because he's my boy.
You like the little belly pat?
Strictly,
you guys kind of look alike too.
Shout out my guy Rob G.
Alex, you're actually siblings.
Yeah, watch your tone.
Actually,
but yeah, I picked Rob G strictly off of just he's my guy. So,
all right, on the next two, matchup 4, international showdown of who Mr. Trump is most likely to deport first.
I took Taku because Carl stinks. So
Carl doesn't stink. Carl's just
not good,
inconsistent, which in fishing stinks.
Yeah.
But I like Carl. Carl's a great angler. Carl is a talented angler. Carl is great with media. But I would, if it was my life was on it, Mr. Taku is going to catch the best.
But again, Carl loves to pull random tournaments out of his ass. So I can very easily see him beating Taku.
I don't know if I see him.
I took Taku just because he's my sweet little baby. But I mean,
I think Taku's going to thrive in these tougher conditions.
Yeah, I think he could. But, Carl loves to pull a big tournament when nobody expects it. So,
Battle of the roommates.
You got to go with the Hamner.
Oh, my God. What? Patrick Walters doesn't have a mustache, Hamner.
He shaves his mustache? Oh,
look at it. There's no stash.
Oh my gosh, it's over.
I was just saying, he's like my body double with the larger thighs and the shorter shorts and the stash.
It's over.
It's over. You did it to yourself, big dog. All right, matchup 6, former St. John's champs. Oh, we got John Sten and we got John. So much John going around.
Maybe that's the key. You just have to have John in your name to win that one.
I hedged myself with the Florida one. I did not hedge myself with this one. This could very easily go either way, but Corey did win last year off of bed fishing, which is probably not going to be a factor here at all.
I agree.
So I went with the safer probably more consistent pick, and I took John Cruz.
I would say John Cruz as well, but I don't know how I feel about the Burger King hat.
That's what it is.
I really don't know. Yeah.
Oh, it says missile. Interesting.
It says Missile Bates, but it's a copyright infringement. Anyway, next. Battle of the Tylers. Tyler Revay looks really sad in this photo. And Tyler Williams looks really, I don't know, he doesn't look happy. He looks like locked in. Like a beaver coming out of a nice hibernation.
They're both really good. I picked this strictly off of the location, not the name. Swamp in Louisiana is way more like St. John's than anything in Maine. So I took Tyler Revay.
Yeah, I too, because I don't see a small rubber jig being flipped on a brush pile. Oh, I do.
Yeah, there's a lack of brush piles to put
I don't know.
half-ounce brown jigs on.
But yeah, that could happen though. But with that, I like my picks. I like them all.
Yep.
Solid picks.
Solid picks. We'll do a quick drain. Let's do a quick look over the Drain the Lake. And then we'll sign on up. Let's go to the bottom here. Who do I see? I'm just going to go through some guys that I see doing real well. I'm going to change this later, but these are some guys I could definitely see going through here. Some automatic yeses will start up at the top. Screw it. Matt Airy. I think you could be a good player now. Drew Benton, wow, 60%. People think that you're going to do well here. Hank Cherry. I don't know where else the schedule should be, but Hank Cherry should be a decent player there, as well as Christie. Cruz. Cox, I would say for Okeechobee. I think that's more his style.
Better time, too.
Bob Downey, I feel like you're going to play more on St. Clair. Seth Fighter, I think you're going to play more on St. Clair.
Or the Mississippi.
John Garrett. Where do we go in the TVA this year?
Do we go anywhere in the TVA? I don't think so.
Nah. What was it? 10 Killers not. Is that what
John Garrett, welcome to the Go.
10 Killer is on the schedule, but that's definitely not TVA.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a good Garrett spot. But
will not be picking a Johnston. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Gotta hold on.
A Jordan Lee will slide in here, as well as a Brandon Lester.
Okay.
There you go.
Maybe. Holy crap.
Did you pick all of them already?
Did we hit 8? Oh, man, we hit 8. How about that? I like it. It looks good to me.
Locked in.
All right, Alex, stop sharing my screen.
Yep.
Please.
Real quick, I'll just hit you with what mine was. Hackney, Pipkins, Cruz, De Palma, Latuso, Heron, Mark Menendez, and Tim Doobie for absolutely no reason at all.
Just locking them in early, get them out.
Yep.
I have not picked yet, so I got to do that.
Anyway, so it is likely Wednesday late afternoon into night when you guys are watching this. So you have until right now to get on there and make your picks. So again, it's the Bums Talk Bass is the name of the group. There will be a link down in the description, or you can just search it on bassmasterfantasy.com.
Thank you.
And get in on the action. But it's time. We're here.
It's time to beat Zub.
Time to
The
beat
Elite Series starts tomorrow.
Let's go. Fishing season is back, baby.
So I'll see you guys all on your phones at work bright and early.
Yep.
Right. See you guys crying after this event next week. See ya.
Peace.